Welcome to Gold Star Classroom, the podcast where our panelists go back to school. I'll grade them on their answers to a variety of general knowledge and trivia questions. They don't know what I'm going to ask, and I don't know what they're going to say. The student with the highest grade at the end of today's class will win the coveted classroom prize, the Golden Banana. I'm your host and professor, Dr. Jerry Jaffe.
Welcome to today's episode of Gold Star Classroom. I'm your host and headmaster, Dr. Jerry Jaffe, and I'm pleased to say that we're recording today's episode at the Barnes & Noble at the Mentor Mall in Mentor, Ohio, and I'd like to thank Chad, the manager, for welcoming us. Welcome to class today, everyone. It is my job as your teacher to ask you questions from the breadth and width of human learning, and as any good teacher would do, then grade your answers. The student with the highest grade at the end of today's class will receive the coveted classroom prize, the Golden Banana. It's now my pleasure to welcome today's students to class. Sitting on my right is a software, computer engineer, and actor who's currently touring a solo show, Eric Jaffe.
Very nice to be here.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. And the noisy person sitting on my left is author, actor, and radio personality, Chris Lambert.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Chris. Thanks for coming to class.
Oh, no, fam. This is fun.
Absolutely. All right. So, you gentlemen, I'm going to be quizzing you, and we'll see how it goes for today. I'd like to start off with a topic from the realm of historic pop culture.
Ooh, all right.
So this is a person who, in their own time, was quite famous.
Okay.
In fact, in the era in which he lived, he was the single highest paid performer at the Moulan Rouge.
Oh, boy. I think I'm in the hole already.
I will tell you his actual name, but he had a stage name. Does anyone know who Joseph Pujo is? Any thoughts, Chris?
Not one single thought.
Not one single thought.
Not one. I'm already 5 points in the hole, I think.
I give out the grades here.
Oh, okay.
So minus 5 points for trying to give yourself grades.
Oh, okay. That's a good one.
Yeah, I'm,
Eric, you ever hear this name?
no, I have not heard it. French entertainment, 19th century, not one of my strong points.
Born 1857, lived until 1945.
Wow.
He was the subject of one of Edison's first films, appearing on film in the year 1900.
Oh,
Oh, that
boy.
was kind of early, didn't it?
Well, when Edison made all these very short, like 5
Is
and
it
10
that,
second films.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Georges Millari, or credited with making one of the early films, The Man to the Moon, or am I thinking
Oh,
of
no,
something
you're
else?
thinking of something else. I know
Okay.
what you mean, but that's
Okay.
a different topic.
Okay.
That's a different topic.
But it's still along in intellectual, pop
All right.
culture.
Well, you get an I for being an intellectual.
Okay.
I don't know if that's an official grade or not, but
Okay.
it is today.
I'm not sure what letter I'm going to get.
I will tell you Joseph Pujo's stage name. This is the name he performed under. It is a French word, so I apologize to my French students listening at home if I'm not completely accurate. But his stage name was Les Petomane.
Oh, late.
Wow.
Les Petomane.
That's not even one of those. Oh, yeah, late.
Yeah.
Petomane. That
nothing?
was, nothing.
Nothing?
Is that short for La Petomane poisoning? Like domain poisoning?
As it happens, his stage name directly states what his talent is. If you knew French, you would know what his
okay.
talent was.
All right.
Uh-huh.
So right now, there's 4 students at home laughing at this. And everybody else, like the rest of us, are still in the dark.
Yes.
The name, he's such a influential figure just in entertainment and pop culture that the name has been recycled. Most famously, Petomane was the name of Mel Brooks' character in Blazing Saddles.
Oh.
Uh-huh. Does that mean
Governor
he's-
William J. La Petomane was one of the characters
Yes.
Mel Brooks played in Blazing Saddles.
Yes.
Does that mean his talent was flatulence? Or?
Gold Star. That was exactly what his talent was.
Oh, boy.
He had the uncanny ability, it was actually not flatulence in the scientific sense, to intake air into his rectum
Oh,
and then
Lord.
control its subsequent release.
Wow.
Thus that he could whistle, he could play the flute.
Well, there's a lost
Wow.
There's a lost art.
Yeah. How do you even begin to what would you say, manage that and take it on the road and,
It's like an X-Men power.
Yeah,
How did you
yeah.
uncover it? Like,
Yeah.
what were you doing as a child where suddenly you realized?
Well, that always, if I can just take a brief second here,
Yes.
that always made me think, the caveman, they find an egg, and they said, the egg just came out of that creature's backside.
Yep.
So, okay, but everything else that comes out of a creature's backside, it smells and we stay away from.
Yep.
But somehow we inherently know that this thing we call egg is okay. Who was the pioneer that ate the first?
Well, the pioneer who ate the first egg was the guy who got there second.
Yeah.
And the first guy said, "Here, eat this."
So, okay, so I didn't want to mess up the show. So go
Not at
back
all.
to-
Don't mess up. So his stage name, translated, Peto is derived from the French word for flatulence, and Maine is derived from the French word for mania or maniac.
Okay.
So he was, in English, you might say his stage name translates as
Gas maniac or something?
Fardomanic.
Oh my God!
Fardomanic.
Wow, that
Now,
sounds like the Fardomanic. It slices, it dices.
Well, what I'm thinking is that somewhere very late in this guy's career, or just shortly after, there were elderly people standing around bemoaning the death of this art. The way
Yeah.
we talk about certain things that seem to be passing in our
yes.
time, languages and so forth. And
Yes, the last truly great
yeah, boy,
Petomaniac.
these kids today with their rock and roll and they don't know anything about entertainment.
Well, that was an inauspicious beginning to the classroom.
Yes, we were both stumped.
It reminds me of something Albert Einstein is once to have said about education.
What's that?
To raise new questions, new possibilities, to regard old problems from a new angle, requires creative imagination and marks real advance in science. And you two have succeeded in raising lots of new questions.
Okay, I'm happy for that. I often, somebody said, well, who's some of the great geniuses? And, like Stephen Hawking or
Sure.
Edward Teller or
Yes.
Oppenheimer.
Right.
And I say,
Dr. Jerry Jaffe, carry on.
I have to go back to Einstein, because all the other guys, even with Hawking's
Yes.
personal disability, they all had buttons to push and things at their command. Whereas Albert's like, "Hey, Albert, can you stop what you're doing and come over here and help at the front counter? We got a line." And he's like, "Sure, okay, I'll be right there." MC equals MC squared. Okay, thank. I'll be right there. He had nothing but a pencil and a paper.
He's a
And his
master
brain.
of the thought experiment.
Yes.
He could think through the consequences
Right.
of what he was thinking about. Speaking of geniuses, we'll turn our attention to contemporary popular culture. And there's many fans of rock music. But I've observed that in a rock band, rock ensemble, the forgotten person is always the bass player.
Wow.
So I have here a list of famous bands, and we're going to go back and forth
Okay.
and see if you can name the bass players.
Okay.
We'll do a couple easy ones first just to establish the genre.
Okay.
So, for example, Christopher, who's the bass player for The Who?
Entwistle, John Entwistle.
John, that was correct. 5 points for you.
All right.
Who's the bass player, Eric, for The Beatles?
Oh, that's an easy
Oh,
one.
Paul McCartney.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
You get half credit
Why? He should be
because the original bass player of
Oh,
The Beatles.
Stu Sutcliffe.
We have a winner of today's Nerd Prize. Congratulations, Chris Lambert.
Yes, you are getting into very, very deep,
A little bit. A little bit of a trick question there,
Yes,
Eric.
Yeah, he got the 5 points for John Entwistle, and
Yeah.
I get minus 2.5 for not knowing Stu Sutcliffe.
Correct.
Oh.
Who's the bass player from the Rolling Stones?
Uh,
The original and most important
well,
bass player from the Rolling Stones.
To me, I think it was Bill Wyman.
Correct.
The
Correct.
one that counts for me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Eric, who's the bass player for the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
It's a good thing he got that question. He's younger than me. I can't.
Yeah, but not
That may
young
be the
enough.
newest band on this list.
Okay.
And,
Yeah,
and to our students listening at home, we're old. So
Yes,
Yeah, we're
yes.
old. I mean, I'm going to say something that could be just humiliating, but
Right.
the only name that comes to mind is Flea. But
5 points.
Okay. All right.
All right, over to you, Christopher.
Yes.
Who's the bass player? The original and most important bass player for Black Sabbath.
Oh Lord, I get them confused. Geezer Butler or
5 points.
Okay.
Geezer Butler.
Okay.
We have a couple more on this list. Eric, bass player for Led Zeppelin.
it's John Paul Jones.
This is clearly too easy a topic. Because I didn't take into account everyone's age. You know, that's
No.
I thought it was going to be -2.5 for not knowing, Jimmy Page's junior high school baseball.
Yeah. Or what was their original names? The
Well,
New
minus-
Yardbirds, you know.
Minus 2.5 points for not knowing John Paul Jones was ripping off John Entwistle. And over to you, Chris.
Yes.
The original and most important bass player for the Doors.
Oh boy. I'm not a Doors fan, a big Doors fan. There's Robbie Krieger, who's on the
Okay.
Manzarek is on keyboards. I don't know. Krieger is. I'm
Well,
probably wrong.
much like Eric, you've walked into a trick question.
Oh, okay.
The Doors have no bass player.
That's true because it's a three-man. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
So
Okay.
sometimes their guitar player might lay down some bass lines, but most of
Right.
their songs do not have.
Right. Okay.
And they do not have the regular standing bass player.
Okay.
And Eric, here's the last one on the
Amazing
list.
they didn't pick up Stu Stewart or whatever.
Stuart Sutcliffe. He was available.
Yeah.
He probably would have worked cheap.
The original and most important bass player for Parliament Funkadelic.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's not him. It's not George Clinton, is it?
No. No.
Yeah,
But
that's
a
the only
very,
name I know.
very colorful, charismatic person known for co-writing one Queen song.
Oh
Oh,
boy.
that's a helpful hint. No idea.
Bootsy Collins.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Bootsy Collins, who was once jamming with the bass player from Queen, and they invented a riff together, and they couldn't decide who owned it.
Oh.
So they both used it in each other's songs, and they both
Oh.
got writing credits on each other's songs.
Ah, that's cool.
Which is that funky bass from Another One Bites the Dust.
Oh.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't do more than 3 seconds of that, please. I can't afford to pay.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yes. Yeah. Wow.
What was the Bootsy Collins version of that?
I'm not sure.
Oh.
Sounds like Queen made more out of that riff than he did.
Can I throw some other bass players out that you might not know,
All right.
just for the fun of it?
For the fun of it.
Chris Squires for Yes.
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 And Tommy Evans from Badfinger.
Badfinger, that's one of your bands.
Yes.
Writing credit. That's when you have the writing credit on for VH1?
Yeah. Yes,
Yes.
I do. Yes, but I didn't bring it up for that.
No,
he's
but
a
I was
good- he's a
informing
good-
our students listening at home what
well,
a
yes,
celebrity
thank
I
you.
have on
Yes, and
the show
And I
today.
did last year at this time get to perform with them on stage, so that was fun.
Really?
Yes,
What-
but
what
most of the
were you
band. They had a Beatle convention, and then after the show, the Badfinger show proper was over, he had me come up and do since it was a Beatles show, we did a Ticket to Ride and Roll Over Beethoven, the Beatles version. So as a sort of an encore, so I joined for the encore, and I think it's still on YouTube if you want to see me sitting up there like a.
You sing or
Yeah,
you play
I
guitar?
was singing. I mean,
Oh, wow.
I do play bass, but I didn't really. They didn't have an instrument for me, so he just said, "Come on up here and sing with me." So Joey and I were up there from sort of like Harrison and McCartney, kind of doing the woo woos and the singing harmonies, and then Joey would go over and sing lead for a while, and it was fun.
It sounds like fun.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Minus 10 points for lording it over us.
Oh my gosh! I was hoping that was the 10 points that would put me over the top. I'm sorry.
Okay. You get an N for name dropping.
Okay.
I'd like to turn our attention to the sciences. That's enough
Okay.
pop culture for one
Yes.
classroom.
Okay.
There is a common phrase for animals. Specifically, it says applied to species. Species are animals or other organisms that appear more or less similar to species found in the fossil record a long time ago. And there's like a phrase that's used for this type of creature, animal, plant, bacteria, whatever it might be. Can you think of the phrase?
Dinosaur-like?
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of them are dinosaur-like.
Bipedal or something, you know.
No, the part of the hint is in my simplified explanation. It was the similarity to something in the fossil record.
Does it start with an O?
No,
Okay.
it starts with an L and ends with a fossil. Have you ever heard the expression "living fossil"?
No.
No. I
No.
don't think I have.
Well, now I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you get an A for being educated.
Okay.
Just now, I educated you.
That's a good one.
If only by lucky guess, I'm sure you could guess the scientist who coined the phrase "living fossil,"
No.
because he it is a he, I just gave you a clue,
Yes.
is the single most important scientist in the realm of evolutionary science.
Darwin?
Correct.
All right.
In The Origin of Species,
Yes, that was
he
his book, wasn't it?
used, that's his most famous book, he wrote numerous books, of course. He made a reference to these types of creatures, and he called them living fossils.
Ah, okay.
So he coined that phrase.
That makes sense.
Are we going to get into the Scopes monkey trial now because of that?
We could if you like, but I was just going to ask a couple of questions related to living fossils.
Oh, okay.
But you distracted me, so
Oh.
you get a D for distracting the teacher.
There goes my eye
yes.
from
Yes.
earlier or whatever.
Not being a proper biology teacher, I would like to say that some biology teachers are biology scientists, paleontologists, evolutionary biologists, don't like the phrase living fossil because it's
I don't really
inherently
like it. I don't like it. I just don't. Doesn't feel right.
it's kind of an oxymoron. Like if you're
Yeah.
talking about animals that are living today,
Yeah.
but then refer to them as fossils,
Right.
it seems a little inaccurate somehow. But it is definitely a colloquial phrase around the topic of evolution. Speaking of Scopes monkey trial,
Yes.
the presence of living fossils is sometimes used by creationists to create, a very poor argument against evolution, as in, these creatures were created like that. So
Yeah.
I just can't believe we've wandered around to an anti-creationist theme. I mean, I never could have predicted the conversation would. We were talking about the Doors,
Yeah.
Badfinger,
Yeah,
and
right.
suddenly,
Yeah. I
well, this is a
somehow-
scientific education.
Did Adam and Eve then, put on the fig leaves and then turn around and say, "Oh, look out! I see a triceratops coming, so we better move on along."
No, because according to the Creation Museum in Kentucky,
Uh-huh.
all creatures were vegetarians before the fall.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's interesting because they call themselves biblical literalists, and there's literally nothing in the Bible about all creatures being vegetarians before the fall.
A bunch of salad
Ergo,
eaters.
I call making it up as you go along.
Yeah. Yeah. So they were carrot killers. So
Yes.
There's always violence
Yes,
somewhere. because-
T-Rexes ate pineapples apparently before the
Yeah.
fall.
Boy.
As
This is getting very.
as a species, just to get some scale to the question, how long have Homo sapiens sort of been considered a distinct species? Approximately. These round numbers are guesstimates.
100,000 years.
Chris, what do you think of
I'm
100,000?
sorry, what'd you say?
I said
Eric
100,000.
Eric says 100,000 years. What do you say, Chris?
I'd say that's pretty close. Maybe 150,000.
It's a close guess. The usual figure you might see is 250,000 years.
Okay.
Oh,
But yeah, but around that range, just approximately. The presence of living fossils causes us to maybe not think about that most species eventually die out, actually. You know what the typical lifespan of a species is?
Well, you're scaring me because I'm thinking of like when's our
yes.
shelf date here as
Well,
humans.
that's what some people think about. Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
Wow. I'm sure that like they used to say, rock bands have a 5-year period.
Yes.
Before. I'm guessing probably 5,000 to 10,000 years before. A
No,
species
it's in the millions.
Oh,
it's
it's
2 to
actually-
3 million.
oh, okay.
2 to 3 million years is sort of a typical. That's the kind of thing there's not really an average or an exact answer on. But
Mosquitoes
gonna
have been
say,
around that long.
I was going to say I find it would be difficult to get a data set with a large enough number of species where you actually knew when they came in and knew when they went out.
There's especially the past generation, the fossil record, knowledge about the fossil record has like mushroomed. And also there's been, even if you just go from Darwin, like 150 years of studying the fossil record. So quite a lot of creatures have been studied.
and known to have like when they
Yes.
formed and when they went out.
Yeah. I'm just saying a casual guess to that because I'm not prepared to back that up with any data or scientific facts. But yes.
I mean, did one lizard at one point say to another younger lizard, "You're complaining? I've been back since the year 2 million, and I'm telling you, it's getting hard to walk." Is that the clue that gave it away?
There are, single cell and bacteria type microorganisms that have gone
Paramecium.
largely unchanged for billions of years. But of animals, what is the animal that is considered to have gone unchanged for the longest period of time? Any idea?
Lizard?
Shark.
Sharks are considered living fossils, actually. There are some lizards that are considered living fossils, such as, I believe, the Komodo dragon.
Oh, yes. Those things.
And also down in New Zealand, they have that rare type of lizard whose name escapes me. I'll look it up later and edit it in.
The Komodo dragon, which made an appearance in Johnny Quest, when Dr. Ashita said, "Sue me, get the dragon out of Kewa." I mean, that's the first time I heard
I
it
know.
as an 8-year-old or a 6-year-old. The Komodo dragon, what is it, Dad?
The horseshoe crab is the answer.
Oh, wow.
The horseshoe crab has been around largely unchanged for about 450 million years.
Wow.
Wow.
It's still shaped like a horseshoe.
Pretty much. And it's still crabby.
I'm just picturing you going in and editing in, and making yourself look like a genius.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
You have every answer right.
Post-production.
I'm going to be listening to this
Everything,
at home.
baby.
He didn't say that at the time.
He's commenting on Facebook when the episode comes out. I was there for that cover-up. Just for by comparison, what type of plant is considered to have gone the longest without unchanging? Or without changing.
Cactus?
I'll let that part out.
Cactus, maybe?
It's not a cactus.
Okay.
It's a good guess, though. This is a plant type that you know,
Then
but it's still
gotta
just
be
a
like
random.
poison ivy because nobody's wanted to ever touch it.
Yes. It has no friends.
Yeah, exactly. The friendless plant.
The ginkgo tree.
Really?
Really?
The ginkgo tree has gone largely.
Is that where they get all
Unchanged.
the,
Yeah.
like Larry King says, ginkgo this?
I believe so.
Okay.
There have
That's
been
interesting.
ginkgo tree fossils have been found over 270 million years ago.
Wow.
And so something about the ginkgo tree, either bark or something in the tree that insects don't like. So it has maybe less pressure to change by, competing with.
They figure
Yeah.
once if they're doing something right,
Right.
so why rock the boat? Right?
Exactly. Exactly.
It's interesting that could have something that insects would not like for 270 million years. So you think there'd be some variations in insects that would...
And Larry King was
Develop a taste
probably
for it.
there at the beginning saying, don't take your ginkgo.
Yes, and Larry King has gone largely unchanged for 600 million years. That was unavoidable. Sorry, I apologize to the students living at home, but it had to be said.
Yeah.
It had to be said. It has been remarked upon that sometimes as a teacher I overemphasize constructive criticism and don't do enough to build up my students' self-esteem. Mm-hmm. So I have here a list of 101 random sayings that can be said to students to make them feel better about themselves. And I'd just like to tell you guys, you're special.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I feel I'm going to do well in the second half of the show.
Well, as I proceed towards calculating your final grades, fortunately I will not need a computer, a calculator, an iPhone, an iWatch, or even an abacus to do so. I'd like to give you each one more chance to improve your grades
Okay.
by addressing extra credit question.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
So today's extra credit, I will give you a topic, and you each be given a chance to say something intelligent.
Okay.
I wish you luck.
that we have intelligence to start with.
Today's topic is fashion.
Oh,
Fashion.
Say something intelligent about clothes, fashion, or something related to that.
Well, I remember.
Chris, are you ready to go?
Yeah, I guess.
All right.
I'm sorry. Did you want to go first?
No, I'm just teasing.
I just remembered that I always thought that men in the old days, in the Edwardian period, when the flared things and the suedes and the cravats and all that. That whole thing that you would call a fop now, or,
Sure.
that has passed away. And if you get slings of and arrows of discontent people now because guys have to wear certain things or they're not considered guys. So I was always interested in women could get away with a lot more.
Sometimes,
and especially
but yes.
in the men were wearing the gray flannel suits for 30,
Yes.
40 years.
Hats.
And then suddenly in the 60s, Twiggy comes along and the miniskirt comes along and different things happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it in the 60s does sort of give men a little bit of extra. They can do some wild things, but now it's back to sort of men dress dull, and
Right.
women still get away. I just, from growing up, I remember
Sure.
that women got the best of fashion and men got the worst, except for a few years in the late 60s.
Well, you sometimes find people nowadays borrowing men who borrow fashion from that fop look.
Yes.
But we refer to those people as hipsters.
Well, yeah. I mean, the old television show, The Avengers, with John Steed,
Yes.
with his bowler and his velour
Right.
lapels instead
Sure.
of normal, and yet he had beetle boots, and it's like, so there was a little
Yes.
mixture plus the umbrella and the bowler,
Sure.
but he was still kind of foppish and
Yes.
and I kind of like that, but you really can't. I guess,
Well, I
like
think
you
there
said,
was-
you can get away with it now with a little mix.
Well, I think there was
mix and
something
match.
foppish in the 70s with glam rock.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
true.
T-Rex,
yeah. But I didn't
Bowie,
see many. I didn't
some
see
of the
many,
other psychedelic.
Right, I didn't see many normal guys walking
Adapting
down the
that
street.
fashion,
Yeah.
yes.
You could do it on a stage, just like I would not want to wear a Will Ferrell hat off a stage. The only man that ever got away with that look was his name was Haas. You know, that
Right.
10-gallon hat kind of thing. You know.
Well, Eric, Chris has set a pretty high bar. Surely you know something about fashion.
Well, I would be careful in how I use the word surely.
We've already got the teacher laughing.
Mid-drink.
Yes.
Well, I mean, what comes to mind is I have some friends who have opened a
I'll fact check that later.
plus plus size women clothing. It actually now designed
Right.
sell clothing, so it's been a little interesting to follow their adventures in getting that business going.
Okay.
Well, I just one of the things that my friend was talking about
Okay.
is that she gets solicited by heavier people, women primarily, to model plus-size clothing. And
Okay.
her point is that people don't appreciate that a plus-size model should be an attractive person who, if they were not overweight, would still be a model, as
Right.
opposed to just because it's plus-size clothing. Anyone can model. Like her own mother is pitching, let me
Right.
model some of this stuff for you. So that's kind of stayed with me.
Well, just for extra credit, just find out if your friend's plus-size store would like to be a sponsor of the show.
Yes.
I'll put a link up on our website.
Actually, I'm going to Christopher and Banks right after this to get my wife a present.
I would like to point out that Christopher Banks is in no way a sponsor of this show, nor do we endorse their products
That's
in any
true.
way.
I should not have mentioned
No,
it.
you can mention them. I just don't want to confuse the students listening at home. All right, well, thank you for your extra credit contributions. And just remains for me, your teacher, to calculate your final grades and declare the winner of today's Golden Banana to be Chris Lambert.
I'm sorry. Next time
Congratulations, Chris.
we'll
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That Stuart Sutcliffe
Yeah.
That sort of
question just
did
torpedoed
dig
my
in.
whole...
Yeah, there's a 7-point swing right there.
Yeah, holy cow.
So all that is left is for me to thank you, my guest. Thank you, Chris.
Oh, thank you very much.
And thank you, Eric.
My pleasure.
Nodding doesn't play well on radio, but thank you for your
My
nice
first
gesture.
He was being stoic.
Yes. Yeah, stoicism, perfect for radio.
Yeah.
And to thank my students listening at home for listening to today's lesson. I'm your host and headmaster, Dr. Jerry Jaffe. Gold Star Classroom is written and produced by Jerry Jaffe. Our producer and engineer is Stephen Gutierrez. Original music composed and produced by Jeff Geddert. Mr. Geddert is also our assistant producer. All commentary and opinions expressed by guests of Gold Star Classroom are meant for entertainment purposes only. For Gold Star Classroom, I'm Jerry Jaffe.